This is a public conversation. This is our third program of the year, and you call 542-MCAT if you want to call in with your questions and your comments. It's kind of been a long week, personally and professionally. Walmart, the Wildlife Parade, a great success. I got to be Captain Ahab again, and that was lots of fun. Lightning bolts and eagles up off of the Wilma roof, and thousands of spectators, and wild men in loincloths, and turtles, and school kids from all over town. It was a great parade. Arson at the Blue Mountain Women's Clinic. The national debate over homosexuality in the armed forces. Governor Roscoe waffling, I don't know much about that. The Montana National Guard. A lot of sadness and memories, and cable TV, as always. I went to a cable TV committee meeting at City Hall the other day and got yelled at by the city attorney. It's a hard go when you try and be a citizen presenting some letters. TCI, yeah, they got Bob. Anybody seen Bob Gilbert? Is the legislative correspondent that sponsored by TCI and Plum Creek Timber, and he's showing up on CNN's channel out of Helena. But what it doesn't say when you see Bob Gilbert, and he does a pretty good job of interviewing the various legislators up in Helena, but what it doesn't say on your television is that Bob Gilbert is a registered lobbyist in the state of Montana. Now, how about a little truth in advertising? I mean, I like the reports, but if the guy's a lobbyist, he's a lobbyist. And I called up Helena and I said, isn't Bob Gilbert registered as a lobbyist? And the state office said, yes, indeed he is. So TCI and Plum Creek, how about putting a little bit of disclaimer on there that said Bob Gilbert is a registered lobbyist, so that people out there in TV land will know what's going on. Elaine Shea, the chair of the cable TV subcommittee for the city of Missoula, says she likes the idea of having, city council committee meetings on television, on the channel here. And she said that she hopes to interest other of her own committee members in the idea of getting on the air so that more people in town see how the local government does its business. After all these years of watching Missoula city government, and I know they work hard, and they get very little pay, and they are constantly being griped at, but it seems to me that as in the next year or so, we're going to vote on local government review as in a time to change the form of government that we have. I think city council moves far too slowly, and they don't get enough done in seizing the initiative. There's no sense of humor there either, it seems, in City Hall. Not much laughter over there. I think that they ought to look at Washington, and we've got a new president, and we've got a new Congress, and people want a change. And that's true here in Missoula, Montana, just as much as it is around the country. So it's not just a question of looking to Washington, D.C. and what we want out of them, but I think we want a little bit of more action out of city council. Move faster. Housing initiatives, things like that. I was standing down by the riverfront the other day with my Uncle Dan. While I was standing, he was seated. Saw a bunch of guys in clipboards standing around talking, right by the riverfront there. And I thought, something's up, and usually journalists are kind of actually professional snoopers, I guess, and but it was too nice a day. I didn't bust in and say, well, what are you guys doing? What are you planning? Is this the new bridge over the river? So what's going on? What were those clipboards all about? Anyway, and then Hamilton, did you read the paper today? City government, it's interesting what they've got time for. Some city administrator in Hamilton is running around to some art store complaining because a woman artist from Wyoming who has a couple of paintings in a store there in Hamilton, which apparently are offending the sensibilities of of this city administrator, and all of a sudden there's a brouhaha out in Hamilton over these two pieces of artwork hanging in a private establishment on Main Street. And they want them out of there. They go into the shop owner and they says, can't you remove those from the window? Can't they go in the back of the store? I don't know. What a life. What a life. Anyway, Walmart. A friend passed me along a letter that she wrote to Anne Mary Dussault about Dussault's vote on the Walmart situation. This is a letter to Dussault from Suzanne Sherman Abulfadl. She writes, Dear Anne Mary, I am writing about your decision to support Walmart's application for a variance to the City-County Comprehensive Plan. I believe strongly that such planning is essential if we are to maintain the environmental and community quality that makes life in Montana a striking contrast to communities across the country which have grown willy-nilly. We are fortunate to have such a plan, although it is, of course, useless if a couple of government officials can so high-handedly subvert its intent. The plan clearly designates the area chosen by Walmart as a residential area. In addition, the Office of Community Development has advised against allowing commercial development to occur in this area. But you obviously know this. Speaking to Dussault. My question is, why are you allowing Walmart to determine how development should proceed in Missoula? Do you really think that by wheeling and dealing with their representative over the issue of a couple of adjacent business sites that you scored a significant victory and that Walmart was put in its place? I don't. I think Walmart got exactly what it wanted. They carry around those extra business sites as bargaining chips. Sometimes they lose them, sometimes they don't. I certainly do not object to having Walmart in Missoula. I do object to their telling us what we can do with our comprehensive plan and to your making it easy for them. Sincerely. So that's Walmart. Anyway, what else have we got going here? Sam Nunn. Sam Nunn. Could we bring up the artwork on that cartoon from the Akron, Ohio Beacon Journal, please? This is a great cartoon. Can you bring up that art there, please, on that? There you go. This is a cartoon in the Akron Beacon Journal out in Ohio. The cartoonist is Chip Bach. And the little line at the bottom, the caption line says, "The Joint Chiefs Implementing Policy of Sexual Orientation Segregation." And I think you can read the balloon, as it were. And the general there, you see all the generals. I don't see a woman general in there. Anyway, the line reads, after the gay artillery unit softens them up, we'll launch a squadron of sadomasochists on a frontal assault, followed by a regiment of straights, and then we hit them from the flanks with a platoon of lesbians. Any questions? That's the debate in the war room. Those guys in Washington look pretty uncomfortable discussing that question of homosexuality in the military. Sam Nunn was in the Coast Guard. Sam Nunn, that was his military service. He was in the United States Coast Guard. And I was in the United States Coast Guard, but we were in the Coast Guard at a different time. But I can't ever imagine looking at Sam Nunn in the shower room at the Coast Guard base. I'll tell you that much. You know, I mean, that guy seems, excuse my levity, please. I just couldn't resist. I started out, by the way, any calls? 542 MCAT. My house is filled with paper. Papers everywhere, files, photographs, books, manuscripts, report cards, scrapbooks, and I was cleaning up the bedside table by my uncle's bed a few weeks ago. And there were Christmas cards in his mail that I leave stacked up so he can look at it from time to time. And cleaning up cookie crumbs and extra paper. Just a second, we got a call. I screwed that one up. If I lost the caller, okay? Line 1, you're on the air. All right. Totally unmechanical. Everyone knows that. Line 1, you're on the air.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I saw a little scroll come across the screen saying that you were blacklisted by the Chamber of Commerce. I wonder if there's a little background on that so we can see why the Chamber might not like to hear your views.
Oh, let's see. Some months ago, I got an invitation. I got a call from a woman from Leadership Missoula, which is associated with the Chamber of Commerce, and she invited me on behalf of Leadership Missoula to come over and join a workshop of news editors who would give the benefit of their experience to people who were, moving up in the Missoula business community and who wished to know a little bit about how to get information across to the media in concise ways. How best to do their business, how business people can communicate effectively with the media. And I said I'd be delighted. That'd be great. I'd be delighted to do that. And then I got a call a couple of weeks later, and she was a little bit embarrassed to report that, in fact, I would be unwelcome there because I think the word used, I was too aggressive or abrasive or something like that. So anyway, that's the story on that. Maybe blacklisted, I don't know. But anyway, I'm always available to the Chamber if they want any information. Is that a call on line 2? Okay. Line 2, you're on the air.
Oh, McCarthy, I was just mute my television here. I was just listening to your last comments here about the Walmart.
Right.
And I was wondering how we as a community can respond to Anne Marie and her decision to sell us out.
You tell me.
Well, I called to ask you.
I have expertise in a very limited number of areas, but speaking generally, I mean, I have not been following the Walmart controversy to the extent that some of my friends and associates have been. It seems to me.
This decision from the very start when they first decided to arrive here in town.
Well, I think that there's as my recollection tells me that there's a couple things. One, if you don't like the actions of a particular public official, anyone, you can start a recall petition. So that is possible and ready. You can ask for a recall election. I don't think it's that complicated to do. You gather the petitions, and then that, if you get enough signatures that are valid, that office holder has to stand for, has to stand on the ballot as to whether the voters will or will not recall him or her. So that's one device, and I think that the other way to do it is to, which I think we have had, what are known as advisory referenda on ballots before, where we petition the city council or the county commission or both to say, look, we want a kind of a straw vote on this thing, county-wide or city-wide. So I think that that's another device that in the past has been used. So that's two things.
How do we do the straw vote? Is that something that involves only the homeowners in the Walmart area, or is that a city-wide vote?
Well, I mean, please, I don't want to, be the oracle on this, but I think in this case, Walmart is outside the city, So it's in the county, I believe, right, and not in the city. Is that right?
I have no idea.
I think it's in the county and not in the city. Am I wrong about that? But let's say it's in the county and not in the city, then stop in at the county commissioner's office and inquire whether they would be willing, the three of them, if they think that their position is the right one, then they shouldn't be afraid to, they shouldn't be hesitant to say, well, all right, let's put it as let's put it on the next ballot as a popular question. I can't remember what year we have had kind of advisory votes in the past, but that's something else. But let's say a further thing that came up in a letter and comments I made to the Cable Television Subcommittee last week, the meeting in which Jim Nugent got very angry with me. I thought he was out of line, but anyway, maybe Jim and I will talk about that. But I'd like to see the City Council and the County Commissioners, excuse me, be more responsive to the press and to be more responsive to the television press. So that, for example, on Monday nights, when the City Council is being aired live, why don't the City Council take about half an hour once the council meeting is over and respond to questions from the public and from journalists that would be a continuation of the live Monday night City Council affair. There's not enough opportunity for the community to directly question office holders in public. And so I think there too, the county commissioners should make themselves available on television, which is something that people watch. So there's another answer. And let's see, do I have...
Excuse me, McCarthy?
Yeah.
You're really kind of beating around the bush here. What can we as a community do to try and stop Walmart at this point in time?
You've got me tongue-tied on that one. You know, you really do.
Something that we can do to stop Walmart from coming into town at the location they have chosen.
Why do I think that you have some advice for us?
I don't.
Oh.
And what I want to know is what can we as a community do to tell Walmart you're coming into our town, but you're going to do it on our position?
I think we're gonna have to wait for other callers because those examples that I mentioned was about as far down as I could stretch in my brain tonight on that one. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, McCarthy.
All right. And we have a studio guest. Let me just pick up on line 2 a second. Line 2, you're on the air. I lost it. Could you come in, please? Thanks. You know how to do these, don't you? Good. Let's see. How's the lighting on Deborah? All right?
Unflattered.
All right, good. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, I called Deborah Frandsen over the last couple of days because Deborah, I hear her commentary on Montana Public Radio frequently, and I observe her in community life in many different areas, and we're not close personal friends by any means, but I have a lot of respect for what I hear her have to say and her work in the community. And when I felt that as a person who was not really, well, to cut to the chase, Deborah has been this week working and speaking out about the situation at the Blue Mountain Women's Clinic, and I wanted Deborah to come in, and I prevailed on her to come in and talk to us about some of what she observes in the community, and what are you feeling out there? What are you feeling, and what's happening? Where are people being served? What's the plan?
I'm not a spokesperson for the Blue Mountain Clinic, and in fact, I called the director this evening and said that you were doing this show, and would she, a member of her staff or a member of her board, be able to come down? And she said, plain and simply, they are exhausted. And I said, well, you know, I'll cover and do what I can, but it is not as the position of a spokesperson, but more as a friend of the clinics. I'm the executive director of Planned Parenthood. We have worked with the Blue Mountain Clinic for years on joint projects in education and advocacy, and I think I can say clearly that all of us are devastated by what happened on Monday morning. And I think that for all of us who've been involved and have been for the last few days very task-oriented, you know, we had to do this, we had to do this, we had to do this, it really didn't even have time to sink in as to how dreadful it was. The fire did a great deal more than simply gut the place, but that's certainly the primary problem. I guess it's a blessing that no one was hurt or killed, though that's simply good fortune. Certainly the person or people who set that fire obviously have a blatant disregard for life, contrary to probably what they would claim.
Excuse me. Is Deborah's sound doing okay? Okay, thank you.
Louder?
Yeah,
okay.
no, you're fine.
All right.
I just wanted to be sure.
Thanks. And so I know that we're very pleased at the response from the community, that afternoon that there were 250 people in the parking lot, and the next day that there were between 400 and 500 people at the park for the rally was very heartening. I understand money is pouring in, though of course anyone in the community who wants to make a donation should. I think the tragedy is the people who are not being served, the clients there, and sure, the reasons that the person set this fire we think are fairly self-evident, though not proven yet, but the damage they have done is so sweeping. There are people out there now who couldn't get their birth control pills on Monday. There are people who couldn't get their kids' vaccination records. There are people who were scheduled for their kids' sports physicals, men for their vasectomies, women who were getting their prenatal care there. Who could set a fire like this and not see the huge ramifications of this tragedy? I think, as I said on Tuesday, many of us have chosen to live in Missoula, have maybe made personal career sacrifices to live here, because this is a place we wanted to live. This is where we wanted to raise our children. And that image we had of Missoula is very tarnished right now. We lived here because we thought people cared. And obviously they do. This is the thing. This is a small, reactionary, dangerous fringe group. They're not at all representative of this community, and I think they're going to be very sorry that they came into this community and did such a shocking thing.
I was walking up Main Street past Planned Parenthood, and I noticed a protester out there. That was,
Yeah.
Is that just been this week, or because I haven't seen him there before?
Yeah, it is very unusual. We're very rarely picketed, and this single individual was picketing the Blue Mountain Clinic on Monday and Tuesday, and then picketed us yesterday and today. You make lemonade out of lemons, and that is that we have a Pledge a Picket program, and that we make money for every picketer we have by the hour, and the money that is donated goes to our consumer loan fund, which loans women money for their abortions when they can't afford them themselves. So there's somewhat of a sweet irony in that. And what's more, when we have a picketer out front, people walk in and write checks. They've had it. My biggest problem today was separating him from the people who were really angry with him. He's, again, not representative of this community at all.
Has the Missoula Blue Mountain arson received national publicity?
I understand it has. ABC picked it up. I've been hearing from different sources that they've heard. Mostly it's, people's families calling here and saying, we heard it, we read it, and we're shocked. We didn't think something like this could happen in Missoula.
Has Blue Mountain heard from the congressional delegation?
Absolutely. We have been, Senator Baucus, Congressman Williams, both sent strong letters of condemnation of the fire in support of the clinic. Governor Roscoe sent a very nice message. The entire Missoula delegation has drafted a resolution, which will be
our delegation to the Helena?
Into Helena, thank you, has drafted a resolution that will be heard tomorrow before the House Judiciary Committee, which condemns the violence and calls on all branches of the government to provide support in tracking down these criminals.
Do you, is it, because I recall some of your commentaries on other matters, on Montana Public Radio, do you see this as, I mean, and now we have, we have debates over, is this part? Is this part of a larger, battle between fundamentalists? I mean, we got issues of homosexuality.
There's a lot of different theories on that one. One of the theories is that I think has some weight is that the people who are anti-choice have been losing the battle. They lost the White House. President Clinton signed over quite a bit of very good legislation. They are not being able to pass the very restrictive laws that they want to. And because of that, they're lashing out in increasingly irrational ways. Their usual methods aren't working. Another theory is that because the anti-choice is not viewed as a winning situation now, that the far right wing is switching over to the issues of homosexuals as more of a hot button issue. It's an issue that brings people in, that raises money, that galvanizes supporters, as abortion used to, but doesn't anymore.
And you may not have the answer to this, but just a specific and pragmatic question, and it may be too soon, but what's the plan for the month or a couple of months ahead?
I am not familiar with what the Blue Mountain Clinic's plans are, except that they are going to keep offering services. They are opening up in some different little offices around town, and they are taking phone calls from their clients. They are scheduling them how they can, and I think that we are going to see a bigger and better Blue Mountain Clinic. I think that I see the sort of phoenix-like image coming out of the ashes to meet more and more needs. I think that these people are going to find that precisely the opposite of what they desired has occurred, that the community is going to rally around, raise the money, and Blue Mountain Clinic will, certainly for the next few months, things are going to be very difficult for them. But they are strong women. They have a terrific board of directors with a great deal of vision, and I think we'll see them doing as well as possible.
Have you people at Planned Parenthood increased your own security now?
Yes.
And community hospital and neither community, something I read in the press, neither community nor St. Patrick's does any abortions at all?
There are private providers in the community, private physicians who also provide this service in their offices.
Okay. And
but the issue is not just abortions. Of course, meeting that community need and meeting that reproductive need is extremely important. But there's so many other needs in the community that the Blue Mountain Clinic met, and all of these things are losses.
Well, that was something that I should have jumped on right away, because a lot of people think of, they say abortion clinic instead of all of the things that you mentioned, the services that are provided, in terms of prenatal care and sports physicals and
it was really a whole range of family medical care. It was really a family medical clinic.
Right. The roster of clients was several hundred.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, if you can imagine any other business in Missoula where they saw 200 clients a week being destroyed, and then those people having to find services somewhere else and everyone else in the community trying to pick up the slack for that, it's really an alarming thing to consider.
Well, Deb, I'd be happy to go on if you.
I have to go to Helena tomorrow morning for this hearing. I haven't written my speech yet. It's going to be a short night or a long night, I'm not sure, but I appreciate you doing this show. And if anyone in Missoula would like to make donations to the Blue Mountain Clinic, they can send them care of the shipping depot at 1916 Brooks. They can drop them off at Planned Parenthood, and we will make certain that your donation gets in. And not only do they need money, which of course they need, If anyone has empty office space, office furniture, things like that they can donate to. I know that the clinic is in need of those. So I'm looking forward to seeing Missoula doing what I know it's capable of. When there's been a crisis in this town, this town has really met the need, and this is the time for it to happen.
Good. Deborah, hey, thanks a lot
Well,
for
thank
coming
you.
down on such short notice.
You bet. My pleasure.
Deborah Frandsen, Executive Director, Planned Parenthood. Thanks again. Huh. Well-spoken woman. Let's take a little bit of change of direction here, and I'm going to move that, and I'm going to move this in here. I was feeling a little bit of a lot of sentiment today, actually. I was feeling kind of under the weather when I got up this morning. Looking through my stuff here. Yeah, just for a minute, I want to hark back to that Hamilton. Peter Trump, owner of the Lady Berkeley Art Gallery, refused to remove the woman's paintings, citing First Amendment rights, private property rights. Where are we? Can you look at that, Sean? That little advertisement from TCI. Can you see that in there someplace? Can you catch that? There you go. Here's your new cable lineup, right? And then in fine print down at the bottom, after it says, oh, by the way, I called TCI a couple of weeks ago and I said, how much is the new basic service going to be? I mean, I just wanted to get real specific, real clear. And the last time I was on a couple of weeks ago, it was $10, right? Yes, $10. Now, in today's paper, it's $11. And then in small print with an asterisk, it said, pricing and programming subject to change. Now, as I said on the last show, using the $10 figure, but now we got the $11 basic figure. Out of that $11 that they're charging for their basic service, folks, they're profiting, I don't know, I'm not good at my percentages, but it only costs them about $1, and they're charging you $11 a month, right? And even the way the advertisement is worded is a little bit weird. It makes it look that on that basic service that you're going to get, it makes it look that on the $11 basic charge, you're going to get C-SPAN and you're going to get Mind Extension University. And that's not it at all. They're a mess. They're a mess. Anyway, this is a piece of mine that was originally published in the Sunday magazine of the Philadelphia Inquirer, and it's called Giving Up the Goose. And the artwork that you'll be seeing that goes along with this is the artwork that appeared in the magazine. The story has since appeared in the Seattle Sunday paper magazine and locally in the Missoula Independent. But here we go. That may be for us. We'll stand by here a second. See if that's for us. Boy, when I told Andy I believed in close-ups, he said, I'll go for it. All right. There's a man who listens. It's a good thing I had at Harvard University get those teeth fixed. Is that a call for me? No? Okay. All right, so this is a story called Giving Up the Goose. And I think our cameraman, Richie Doyle, will be on that artwork soon enough. And thanks for a great crew coming in at the last minute. Poor Rich has got quite a cough there. So this is the story. We stood up for the goose a few months ago. Yes, the groomsmen gave him away. His stalwarts, Dan and Jim and Charlie and myself, came east from the Rockies to witness and bless this new partnership. Goose calls his nuptials the streamline to sweetness. It was easy business for none of us. During their two-year courtship, we each had private correspondence and late-night calls from the Goose as he sounded us out on the wisdom of marriage. Goose says, "She doesn't understand how important you all are to me, and she gets ticked when I tell her I'll always love V. But how can anyone excise love? If you can, well, I could shuck her one day too, right?" Unwilling to share my intimacies with a woman I've never met, I began sending my letters to his office. Charlie, Jim, and Dan, with 37 wedding anniversaries behind them, no longer see it as any streamline to sweetness. We want Goose to reap the joys he expects from marriage, but at the same time, we want to keep his purity of spirit for ourselves alone. He gives us each joy, and we fear his diminution in our lives. He is ours, belongs to our band, and there is a muted melancholy amongst us. We do not wish to surrender him over to another, a woman. Yet my compatriots, already linked to the other gender, are more sanguine than I. And of all the men I know, Goose is surely the one who has transcended all this women as aliens business. I watch him now in a quiet moment as he gently touches her wrist, like a doctor counting the heart's pulse, his eyes never wandering from hers, his ears seeming to grow larger as they take in his words. And I realize he has a special grace, allowing him to treat the hearts of men and women alike. He has enveloped me in just the same way, taken my confessions, assuaged my griefs, yet now somehow a contract, a ritual, will place her a rank higher. Am I envious of the bride? Perhaps. After all, none but Goose has loved me better. We have shared a winter's quilt and, glad for the warmth, danced the two-step in country bars, raced the empire builder highballing across the plains, cooked and savored roadkill, canoed the Smith River, drunk wild turkey, and chanted at Jerry Johnson's hot springs. I think it is that Goose and I will never again team up for the cruise through the big open, and sardine and cheese sandwiches consumed on the Missouri banks. No more striding through the fields to encounter an old Indian in an abandoned church. No, I do not wish to attend these nuptials. Not this time. I had been giving away my own best men, each forged, none accidental, for 2 decades. And this year, I feel a little broken by time. Unrequited, an outlander to couple them. Always before, I had come to witness these weddings with great faith in romance and conjugal union. Then, too, I'd always wanted to till a garden without rocks. Today, I wonder if I any longer understand the potential goodness of union. And it is difficult for me to percolate with the bonhomie expected of the groomsmen. My heart is constricted. Still, it would be cruel not to appear. How unlaunched the Goose would feel. And so we stout hearts come down from Montana. It is wedding eve, and the men are up late varnishing the joists of our friendship. I rarely blush, but do now when Jim reminds Goose. Well, if you could put up with Max kvetching and moaning all these years, you're about as ready for marriage as anybody. Goose roars and runs at me, hoists me high, and planting a kiss on my face, shouts, "I love this geek." And now Goose, his tenor cracking, tries to teach us the Jacques Brel song, "If We Only Have Love," which he wants the men to sing at the ceremony, but we are hopelessly off key and agree not to embarrass the bride a cappella. The doorless Studebaker in the jailhouse story is being spun, but I am in reverie. I see us last summer at the ranch when he brought back this coastal woman for the first time and told me and the folks his news. That day, he and I were alone down in the barn, separating my cobwebs from his. We once built a coffin for whomever needed it first on a leap year's night, and now we are sifting through its contents. Clippings from the Borrowed Times, the populous rag we published, slide through our fingers. Old long johns wrapped around icons from the Goose's journey to Jesus, a trip he never mocks, though it is over now. Pottery, Afghans, maps, and then we cheer when we find the treasure, his golden braid lopped off years ago, and we laugh and sing, "Abbot, abbot, 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 abbot," said the monkey to the chimp. The rehearsal is no grimmer than any other. An aunt who seems to appear at weddings all across America is there with her clipboard and a formidable knowledge of nuptial etiquette. She advises on proper sequence, deportment, and aisle speed, and when she isn't looking, we pull faces and make rabbit ears behind the goose and switch the positions she decreed. She eyes us warily as we whisper our plan to march out of the church side by side and arm in arm, rather than the single file she is insisting on. Our rambunctious small boy behavior is the levee holding in our immense reservoir of emotion. We are four men who, by grace and will and wit, are linked in love with the goose. And here in this Methodist church, we camouflage the passion and grip of our affection so that the onlookers are at ease in chalking us up as just good old boys being unruly. Wedding morning, back at the house, Goose has his clothing options laid out, and we must dress him up. He had vowed to wear a snap-button Western shirt and the Levi's that have been his customary attire since days of yore. But Goose yields to the bride's day, and so he dons his inside-the-beltway blue suit, a white shirt whose collar rides his Adam's apple, and a pale gray tie that I fashion into a Windsor knot. And Goose calls it the hated yoke, a symbol, an emblem of male devotion to hidebound notions about almost anything. On the ride to the church, Goose worries if the tie doesn't exude too much paleness, which he believes may be unbecoming to his raw-boned complexion and red hair. We chortle. Too late to worry about exuding paleness. Goose, you're cooked. The minister stands sentry with us in the sacristy. He small talks. Y'all married? Dan, Jim, and Charlie affirm their status and offspring. Well, how about you, McCarthy? The minister drawls. You ever been corralled? I gently mock his accent. Nope. I've been rodeoed a few times, but I ain't never been corralled. And we laugh so hard, we have to put our hands over our mouths so the sound comes out like... And Goose peers nervously out into the church, and the organ intones, and like actors, we sweep our hands across our faces to restore a semblance of dignity. Goose weeps and smiles through the ceremony, overcome with joy and the enormousness of this undertaking. He is 37, a little tardy for a first-timer. We behave ourselves, and it is over quickly enough. Charlie was tottering for a moment, Jim blushing, Dan and I heaving sighs, and the pictures show us looking very grave, and we seem to be bracing up one another. Outside the church, Goose motions me over to where he and Cindy, his bride, are standing alone. Goose hovers between us like the referee in a boxing match of lovers, holding each of us by the arm as we clinch together. He looks from his new wife to his older compadre and gently tells us the rules. Now we're all in this together, and you've each got one another. Perhaps this is the wedding I have come for. She and I look shyly at one another. The goose has said we must share as best we can. And I will. So that's giving up the goose. Thanks for sharing that. How much time do we have, folks? Anybody got a clue? Got about 14 minutes? Oh, we got plenty of time. And we're open to calls, 542-MCAT. I tried with the fellow that wanted some advice on how to get rid of Walmart, but that was about the best I could do. Jeez, there's always somebody. I mean, that artwork out in Hamilton, and here's the city administrator. I'm sorry, folks, that just keeps getting to me, right? You know, the city administrator, what, has he got nothing better to do than leave City Hall and walk down the main street and look at two pieces of art by a woman? I mean, they're not in the nude. For heaven's sake. No more paid political advertising on television. I mean, isn't that one of the things that Clinton and the Congress are supposed to be getting at, is campaign reform? And everybody knows that the reason why Pat Williams and Conrad Burns and Max Baucus have to raise all this money is to pay for television advertising. That's where the bulk of the money goes. Well, let's put an end to paid political advertising on television. You know, it's a simple, and there's nothing radical about that. It just means that the broadcasters have to make a little less money. I mean, they're printing money as it is. And here's that legislature up in Helena. Everybody see that full-page ad in the Missoulian placed by the Confederated Tribes up the Flathead? Can we get a shot at that, please? Can we get in a little bit and see? Most people have probably spotted this, but this is I mean, the tribes want everybody to, and obviously they want everybody to know that they're concerned about this, because they took out a full-page ad in the Missoulian, and I don't know what that cost them. That cost them, I don't know, $1,000, huh? Something like that. Give change a chance in Lake County. You know, and the Montana House of Representatives, led by, what's his name, John Mercer, is that right? A Republican from Lake County. I mean, it's the tribes, basically the tribal economy, that is making that county as wealthy and as productive as it is. And the tribes would like a little action out of the House of Representatives. And I think, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but they're asking folks to, give the governor a call and call the Lake County commissioners and the Lake County at the courthouse up there, and to call the Speaker of the House, John Mercer, at Capitol Station, Helena, and to call the governor. You know, they want a little justice going up here. And they want more control over their own reservation. Interesting. That's the first time I've seen a major full-page ad by one of the Montana tribes. It doesn't mean that it hasn't been done before, but people need to pay a little bit of attention. Over the years, they just get a raw deal. Waco, Texas. Are they still hanging out down there? I've been waiting a month, and finally last Sunday, in the New York Times. Why doesn't the government just get up and walk away? I waited a month, and finally, in last Sunday's New York Times, there was a 2-page article that fully detailed what happened, what the government planning went on, and stuff like that. And folks, let me tell you, it was a mess. They didn't know beans from apples, right? This guy, Karsh, what is it, David? Karsh, he jogged around Waco in the days before. I mean, if they wanted to arrest the guy, they could have gone into one of the bars where he was seen hanging out, or they could arrest him while he was jogging. I mean, why does the government get into these things? And why don't they just, they play the rock? What kind of music are they playing? I don't know. A terrible loss of life. A terrible loss of life. Was that necessary? It doesn't seem to me that it was. Sam Nunn. I wonder if he could do the centerfold in some magazine. None of the above. All those guys, Strom Thurmond, they seem to be treading very gently. Here's an idea. If these guys, in the Senate, in the United States Senate, and everybody else in the country that don't want the 200,000 gays who are now in the American military, that's 200,000, folks. That figure comes from a Pentagon study. That was part of the testimony in the Senate hearings yesterday. Came from a Pentagon planner in the Reagan administration. That was a study that was commissioned and paid for by the taxpayers. 200,000 gays in the American military, okay? If the United States Senate and the American people, but let's just talk about the Senate since they're the ones who are talking about it, don't want these people in the military, why don't they buy them out, right? I mean, in other words, like, IBM, when it, gets rid of the executives and stuff like that, well, here's your golden parachute, I mean, we're cutting you loose, bye-bye, but we got to do right by you because we know that we're firing you for reasons that are outside of your control. So how about each one of those 200,000 individuals gets paid $100,000, and then all of the people that are upset about gays in the military will be satisfied. And maybe these gays in the military, with $100,000 in their pocket to get started someplace else, I guess people realize I'm being ironic, but, maybe, I mean, it's a deal. It's a way of dealing with it. Buy them out. They don't like them, buy them out. Jeez. Sam Nunn. KUFM Radio News. Is it better than it was? Or is it not better than it was 10 years ago? Didn't there used to be more news on KUFM 10 years ago? Wasn't there like a half-hour morning newscast? I mean, that's just a straightforward question. I don't know the answer, and maybe someone out there in listener land does. I used to remember getting a half-hour morning news, and I'm just wondering if my memory is correct. Why were we not getting a half hour of morning news? Do we have a call? Okay. What else we got? I mean, is the city still talking about a bridge over the river? I mean, is that the MRA or we got calls? Line 1. Line 1, you're on the air.
Hello, this is Bill Kelly. I'm wondering, I'm really enjoying your show. I'm just wondering, are you going to do this show again?
Yeah, well, as long as I'm alive, we're going to do this show. I mean, for the next 40 or 50 years. I mean, my uncle is 93, and I was thinking today, well, maybe that means I've got about 40 years to go. Shall we do it for the next 40 years? We'll be on in 2 weeks, to answer your question specifically. We'll be on in 2 weeks.
Same day, same time?
Thursday nights at 10 o'clock. And I haven't been doing my PR right, and I haven't had good PSAs on. But anyway, yes, that's the short answer.
All right, well, I'll tune in again next time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We got another call? Okay. Okay. And who saw the wildlife parade? Oh, man, that was fun. That was really fun. Oh, technology. Let's see. Downspace. Who was in it? Lots of people were in it. There were hundreds of people in that parade. And it was great fun making the animals out at the fairgrounds. I managed to make it out there a little bit. And there were more people in the parade. There were more people watching. And it was just great. Although, you know, I went to do some banking today. And at the drive-up window, I mean, I walked up to the drive-up window because I can't drive up to the drive-up window because I don't have a car. So I walked up to the drive-in window, and I know the teller, really fun, you know, woman that I've known through the window over the years, and she always gives me a big hello. And we talked about the wildlife parade, and she said, yeah, she said, what about that wild man? Do you know where I can get a hold of him? I mean, that's the guy, that's the one that some people seem to remember, the guy running around in the loincloth. Somebody told me he made the LA Times or something like that. But anyway, good work to everybody who worked on that parade. Richie Doyle, Craigman's here, and that's that's 2 out of 100 names, but great parade, and thanks a lot. Boy, I went to one of the wildlife films at the Wilma last night, and I saw lots of animals eating other animals, and it was pretty gruesome. It was pretty hearty. Is that what you mean? Hearty soup? Chunky, hearty soup? Boy, they really eat. But you know, the thing of it is that when there's a clinic that gets bombed out or arsoned out, like the Blue Mountain Women's Clinic, right? The kind of I don't want just. By the way, I didn't hear Conrad Burns' name mentioned by Deborah Frandsen, and maybe that was just a name that she forgot. But I did not hear that name as being someone who wrote a letter or called up the clinic and expressed sympathy or support. Maybe someone knows differently. But it seems to me that in other places that I look around the country, that's when the governor flies into the community where the tragedy has occurred. Or that's where the Congress people fly home from Washington, to express their solidarity and to look at and to say, this is terrible. I don't think letters are enough, and I don't think phone calls are enough. So maybe they'll wait till they figure Easter break is coming here soon, and they'll do it then. But I'd like to see a little bit more action. And let's see here. What else have we got? Oh, I've got a test. Everybody out there in TV land. And I might have to give you the answers next week. Get a piece of paper, a large piece of paper, and a pencil or a pen. This is a NASA test. Okay? Has everybody got their large piece of paper and their writing implement? I'm going to get 1, 100, 2, 100, 3, 100, 4, 100. Okay. You've got your paper, and this is a fun test. This is fun. fun, fun. So get your paper and get your pen. Okay. You're on the moon. You're on the moon. Your group is a space crew originally scheduled to meet with a mothership on the lighted surface of the moon. Due to mechanical difficulties, your ship was forced to land some 200 miles from the mothership. The mothership does not have the additional fuel to come pick your crew up. During landing, much of the equipment on board your module was damaged. Since survival depends upon reaching the mothership, you must choose the most crucial items still available for the 200-mile trip by foot. Now I'm going to name 15 items. This is what you'll have to write down. I'm going to name 15 items. And you have to then give the priority, the logical priority to be able to get back the 200 miles to the mothership to safety. Okay, so those of you who are ready, take this down. A box of matches. Food concentrate. 50 feet of nylon rope. Parachute silk. I'll go through these again. Portable heating unit. 2 .45 caliber pistols. 1 case of dehydrated milk. 2 100-pound tanks of oxygen. Star maps as seen from the moon. Star maps as seen from the moon. A life raft. A magnetic compass. 5 gallons of water. Signal flares. A first aid kit with injection needles. And last of the 15, a solar-powered FM receiver transmitter. So that's a radio, a solar-powered FM receiver transmitter. I'm going to go through those quickly again. This is a test, folks, for those of you who are just coming in. All right, more quickly. These are the 15 items, and you have to prioritize these items that you're going to take along on your 200-mile trip back to the mothership because you're stranded on the moon. Okay, first, a box of matches, food concentrate, 50 feet of nylon rope, parachute silk, portable heating unit, 2 .45 caliber pistols, 1 case of dehydrated milk, 2 100-pound tanks of oxygen, star maps as seen from the moon, a life raft, magnetic compass, 5 gallons of water, signal flares, first aid kit with injection needles, and a solar-powered FM receiver transmitter. Those are the 15 items. How much time do we have left, folks? I mean, I don't know whether... We got 10 minutes? So I should give the answers at the end, right? Okay, I will. I won't give the explanations, but I'll give the answers at the end. Maybe the crew at least will come up with some answers. Let's see. What else have we got? We got a call here. Should I wait? I guess it's like, I hear whisperings about asteroids. Is that call for me? I guess it isn't. You know, once again, this show is not going out to. We got a call on line 1. Line 1, you're on the air.
Could you explain again which ship is in the light side, which ship is on the dark side, and how much of that 200-mile trip is in the dark and how much of the 200-mile trip is in the light?
I will, but I will only read exactly. In other words, you only get this information. This is what everybody got, and everybody wants to ask more questions, but that's it, what you heard. Your group is a space crew originally scheduled to meet with the mothership on the lighted surface of the moon. Due to mechanical difficulties, your ship was forced to land some 200 miles from the mothership. The mothership does not have the additional fuel to come pick you up. During landing, much of the equipment on board your module was damaged. Since survival depends on reaching the mothership, you must choose the most crucial items still available for the 200-mile trip by foot. And that's all they tell you when they give you this test.
Good. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
An interested watcher. Well, let's see. What were those men with the clipboards doing down the riverfront? I mean, I want more information about what's going on. You know, I was like, public conversation, remember? Let's see, what else we got here? What else we got here? What else do we have here? Hitchhiking. The city, you know, how does the cable TV business, the city's got to consult. One of the reasons I showed up at the cable TV subcommittee meeting last week was to suggest that since the city and that committee has decided to do a request for a proposal for public access. In other words, who's going to run public access? Is it going to continue to be MCAT, or are there going to be others who submit bids to run public access, etc.? Well, how come that the city's consultant out of Oregon that we pay to advise us on how to rate these franchises and how to do this and how to do that? He's had that job for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, and it was a non-competitive bid, and that was one of the things I suggested. Well, if you're going to do an RFP for public access, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that would like to bid on being the consultant to the city of Missoula on the cable business. And frankly, from my perspective, and this is my own individual perspective, that consultant has had to be, we've had to beat him with wet spaghetti on many an occasion to hold the line and not to give so much away to the companies. He doesn't always seem to be up to date on federal law, and I mean, this city has been entitled to regulate rates for several years under federal law because we met the exemption in the federal law because of the non-competitive environment in which we lived here in Missoula, Montana. The city council had the opportunity, but no, the city council wasn't interested in regulating rates, and the cable consultant that we were paying did not encourage them to even look at it. He said, no, not necessary. I mean, folks, you're talking about a company, TCI, that's making, billions of dollars. They're everywhere, and I think it's time maybe to, fair's fair. Let's have a competitive bid for who can do the best job and the most effective job to be the consultant for the city on cable. And I think it's time that I said at that committee meeting last week, I said, what is clout? What is influence? I mean, not everything is writing laws and why doesn't anyone on the city council stand up when they make their public comments on a Monday night and say, I think cable rates are too high? I mean, is that a really scary thing to do? Or are they perfectly satisfied to be and do they think that their constituents are be satisfied to be paying the rates that they pay? I mean, this basic service thing at $11, now it's up to 11. A month ago it was 10. Now it's at 11. What does it take? I mean, why is it so scary? I mean, this is a consumer issue. You'd think that the city council would show a little bit. But, you show up at these committee meetings and, I don't know, I think that I try and put my best foot forward. It's grim city, man. It's grim city. Like Bob Hermes walked out as soon as I started talking. City Councilman Bob Hermes, he just left the room, so he wasn't interested. And then Jim Nugent, the city attorney, yelled at me, and I didn't know why he was yelling at me. And it's a wonder why I don't show up but once or twice a year. I mean, who wants to get yelled at, So anyway, cable rates, they're outlandish. They're a ripoff. So basic service, $11 a month. You're going to, their costs, we're almost running out of time. You want the answers. They want the answers. Okay. As the audience that our assiduous caller had enough time? Let's see, they've only had a few minutes. Now don't call back because I do not have all, I have a few limited explanations. Okay. This is how NASA prioritized those 15 items. Number one. Oh, maybe somebody needs more time. Better hold on a second here. Somebody on that phone? Hold on, folks. Have we got a call? No. Okay, somebody else. Okay. This is how NASA prioritized the 15 items. First, they'd take the 2 100-pound tanks of oxygen. I was right on that one myself. Although my laugh line was, I took my revolver first. And so, anyway, all right, number one, 2 100-pound tanks of oxygen. Number 2, 5 gallons of water. Number 3, the food concentrate. Number 4, the star maps. Number 5, the FM receiver transmitter. Number 6, the 50 feet of nylon rope. Number 7, the first aid kit with the injection needles. Number 8, the parachute silk. Number 9, the life raft. Number 10, the signal flares. Number 11, the pistols. Number 12, the milk, the dehydrated milk. Number 13, the portable heating unit. Number 14, the magnetic compass. And number 15, the box of matches. I think when I did this test, I think I was right on the last ones too, because there's no North Pole, right? So you can't use a compass. That doesn't work. There's no gravity or something like that. I flunked plane geometry twice, so what do I know? And there's no oxygen, so you can't light a match, right? And I guess the reason why the revolvers were up a little bit is because they could be used as propellants. So I don't have, maybe next time if anybody in the audience is really interested in some of the logic of the answers, I'll get more of that. But was that good enough on the timing that people was able to take it down? Good. Hey, everyone, crew, Andy, Thanks for coming in and working as a director. And that's Andy Thorgerson, who also has his own show down here on MCAT. And he's ran the computers and entered all the print. And Sean Gant on camera, and Richie Doyle on camera, and Coffer on camera, and Tracy working audio, and Mary Canty, and you'll see the rest of the names on the credit. Thanks a lot for helping out, and tune in 2 weeks from tonight at 10 o'clock for another public conversation. And thanks very much for being with us. I really appreciate your hanging in there. And thanks to our guests and our callers. Good night.